All right, so we got a little time after F&M, so figured we'd do a deck tech for, what do you want to call this?
It's probably just an artifact Ugin deck.
All right, so we'll start out with the lands.
Oh, the lands.
We've got
So
11 islands, apparently.
Yep, 11 islands, one Castle Vantress. I would run probably one more of those, but I couldn't find them before tonight.
Oh,
so
nice.
I literally pulled
What
one.
would you change then?
I'd drop another island.
Okay.
Yeah, if you're going to go up on any of this, you go down on this, because we really don't need this many islands.
Sure.
3 mobilized districts, 3 Karn's Bastions, 3 Bonders Enclave, 3 Blast Zones.
A lot of utility lands.
Yeah, you need it. You don't, our deck is very linear.
Yeah, so you could also run Radiant Fountains too.
And I had those in, but I didn't want to go below 10 islands.
Makes sense.
Even though we're not running much blue in the deck, we need the blue when we need it. And I'd rather have an extra just random island laying around than get stuck colorless.
Yeah. So, kind of looking over it really quickly, this actually looks like it survives rotation. So you lose a couple lands.
Yep.
And then you lose like one creature.
Yes.
So that would, like, Radiant Fountains would go right into it after that.
Yes. The other one, which I didn't include, but I do like, is Field of Ruin.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really relevant to get rid of... I think it would be more relevant in a 3-color meta.
Mm-hmm. Keeping them off a color.
Yeah, keep them off a color.
Yep.
Other than that, like in that game against you, I could have used it to destroy your mobilized district.
Or
a castle.
Yep.
It's just... In the end, we're not shy. If you run them, you're not shy about just sacking them, going and getting an island. But I did not include those because I was...
So 2 cards that you could put in after rotation, and it makes it a lot easier to find the slots for them.
Right.
All right, so we'll start down here, work our way up. So you've got 3 Ginger Brutes.
Mm-hmm.
Anything you want to say about Mr. Brute?
The Brutes are quick damage early, and later on they pair really well with the Ozolith.
Which is our next card.
Which is our next card. That brings us... That is definitely the hub. I mean, that's what the whole deck revolves around.
Mm-hmm.
This list I threw together, there was an artifact deck that ramped into Ugin. And then I saw another artifact deck that utilizes the Ozolith more. And they were running a lot more blue. They didn't have Ugin. They were running Mystic Forge.
Well, that seems like a mistake.
Yeah. Well, that's what I said.
Not running Ugin seems like a mistake.
In the end, I mashed them together.
Yeah.
My basic game plan is to drop a few artifact creatures, pump, get the counters onto the Ozolith, throw them on something big, and swing.
Cool. And then next, we've got
Shadow Spear. Lifelink is very critical because sometimes we start slow. We also can stall out if we're not careful. And then just the fact that, you can kill a Paradise Druid with it.
Yeah. I was going to ask, what things are you hitting with the remove hexproof ability?
It also removes indestructible. So, I mean, any of the gods
removes indestructible
from Theros,
as well.
Yes. Any of the gods from Theros, primarily what you're going to use, I mean, Paradise Druid is probably the number one target you're going to come across. I got stomped by a 12/12 Paradise Druid a couple weeks ago.
With Vigilance, right?
Yes, with Vigilance. He gets enough enchantments, and you're just dead. So that's really nice.
Which that was a deck that Garrison played for a minute, and then Elias was playing it last week.
Yes, Elias played it the other week. So kind of just throwing things in that are a little more utility. At the end of the day, it's tough to find enough artifacts to make an all-artifact deck. Yeah, we just don't have them right now.
Yep. So then you're also running Maze Mind Tomes.
Yes.
How are you liking that card?
I love it. And honestly, I'm probably going to put the 4th one in.
Yeah, I put the 4th one in too.
The original list, when I was drafting, I had 2, and I had 2 Mystic Forges. And that's a 4-drop. It just doesn't perform. We have too much other stuff that's high up on our curve. My 1-drops, other than Gingerbrute, are all just artifacts that sit there and do nothing. So...
Yep, so we have 2 Frogifies, which are your pseudo-removals.
Pseudo-removals, we don't really have much removal at all. I mean, you've got Blast Zone, which takes a while to charge up. Frogify is great. You'll get down on the board and just, shut down a Questing Beast. I had a game tonight where I used it to shut down Robber of the Riches.
Whose abilities is very relevant.
Yeah, he starts stealing stuff off the top of your deck, and we're in trouble. But... Overall, it's a 2 of. I keep 2 more in the sideboard. It's not... I mean, it's the best I could do.
Yeah, you could also consider running Brazen Borrowers.
Yep.
If you have them.
I do not have them, which is why I did not run them.
Yep. I know that was going to be a comment, so I have to...
Yep, no, if I had them, they'd be in here, I swear.
So then you have 2 Animating Fairies, and I'm actually going to say I don't like this card in the deck.
Really?
Because it's a non-creature artifact, so you can only animate those.
Yes. The only reason, and this was actually part of the second list that I took from. They ran 4 Animating Fairies, and they ran a lot more stationary artifacts. I have found it useful in games where I draw 2 Ozoliths or 2 Shadow Spears.
But the problem is, it's still legendary, so you can't play both. You couldn't animate one and then play the second one.
Well, but what you can do, and I did it in a game earlier, was I had an Ozolith out, and I animated it to make it a 4/4 creature. I then attacked with it. I then played the second Ozolith, sacking the first, moving the 4 counters onto the new Ozolith. And then next turn, I just pumped my Stone Coil. So it's kind of a weird wombo combo, very off. And sometimes you just need a little evasion, so flying helps.
Yeah, I don't mind the 2/2 flyer.
Right.
But I think the other side of it is not good.
No, okay.
in this list.
No, I appreciate that.
So
I will say more often than not, I will cast it as a 2/2 flyer.
Yeah, and if you're using it for that, there's better 2/2 flyers.
Yeah, it's just very situational.
So if the viewers are gonna think about sleeving something like this up, I would probably make that the first thing I'd cut.
Yeah.
In this list, and then we have 2 Steel Overseers. 3 Steel Overseers. I look at the casting cost, and that's what I say.
Yeah, I know. Well, I don't own 4 of them.
Yeah, so that would be a good thing to just swap.
Cut one of those and put in another Steel Overseer.
Yep.
He's great.
Apparently, we have a lot of artifact creatures here.
Yes. You just tap him, and he pumps everything. And the thing I love most about Steel Overseer is that it doesn't say other artifact creatures. So every time you tap, you're pumping him as well.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the base engine of the low end of the deck.
Yep. So then we've got 4 3-drop Palladium Mirrors.
Yes.
I got it right that time. And that's obviously, you're just trying to ramp into big things.
We're just trying to ramp into bigger stuff. We are really stuck before we get to at least 3 mana and really 4 mana. Once I hit 4 mana, I can start getting lemons down and really ramping up.
And that's, for those of you that may not have watched many of our
Simulacrums.
videos, his nickname, it's definitely an it. Its nickname is Lemon, because nobody can pronounce the name correctly.
Right.
So I just intentionally pronounce it wrong, and you get lemon out of it. So it's Lemon.
Yep.
There's some lemonade joke there. I don't know.
I don't know.
So then, that's like my favorite mid-range card in Standard right now.
It's great. I've tried to fit it into so many things that it doesn't go in.
Yeah, me too. Let's be real.
Yeah.
Okay, 4 Stone Coil Serpents.
Yep.
Which are a 0 CMC.
Right.
Obviously a house in this format, because a lot of people are playing multicolored stuff.
Yep.
And nobody remembers it has reach.
Yeah, exactly. Trample and reach. And to be honest, they are very valuable in the early game also. Don't be afraid to drop him for 1 or 2 mana just to put something on the board.
You can always make him bigger with
Exactly.
other things.
We can pump him later.
And if he dies, the counters
will go
Ozolith,
there.
So.
We did skip over Crystalline Giant.
That's because it's not a real card.
It is a real card. It is like a mythic unicorn of a card.
So if you watch the video with me and Craig, we had to find a D10 to roll, because there are 10 abilities that it can gain at random. So.
Yep. So at the beginning of combat, it randomly gets one of those abilities. What's awesome is that when it dies, all those counters go onto the Ozolith.
Yep. And it does move Death Touch and Lifelink.
Yep,
and
it will move
all
Trample,
those
flying,
counters.
all of those. It feels really good to drop, late game, to drop a Ginger Brute with haste.
And then make him a giant creature.
Make him a giant with Death Touch and Lifelink, and then pay the 1 mana so they can't block him.
Yep. And then I think we forgot 2 cards in the main deck. The Ugins.
Which
nicknamed Eugene, of course.
I mean, the deck can win all on its own by utilizing the Ozolith and the counters. If you can get to 8 mana and cast Ugin, that's it. That's really what you want to do. That's why the Palladium Mirrors are here.
That's why on turn 7 you duress them.
Yes, and you'll
spoiler alert.
Watch something later where I lose an Ugin on turn 7 with 1 land in hand.
To play and cast.
Yes, to play and cast him. So that was super painful. But it happens.
I thought it was great.
Yeah, I'm sure you did.
All right, so that's the whole main deck. It's basically play artifacts and go all in on a creature.
Yep.
And if they remove it, that's okay.
Because you have more.
You can just go all in again.
That's right.
And then what do we got in the sideboard?
Sideboard is a serious work in progress.
So I've got stack these up.
Some real oddities in here. So we have 2 Sorcerer's Spy Glasses.
Okay.
Obviously, it's another artifact. You can animate it if you need to. You're probably not gonna. Drop it, take a peek at your hand, name something. You know, it's like against you, I'm going to name Lily.
You don't want to name Ugin?
I could name Ugin. The thing about this deck is that Ugin, with all artifacts, it's a one-sided board wipe.
Yeah.
So, and
Except
8 mana.
For your fairy.
Yeah. We don't care about her, though.
No.
So then, you know, we've got...
Also, it's a symmetrical effect, so he can't use his Ugin if he names Ugin.
Right.
So that's why I kind of joked with him.
Well, and to be honest, earlier in the game, Lily gave me a harder time than Ugin did.
Yep.
Then we've got 3 negates. To be honest, it's 3 because I couldn't find the 4th one. I've got 2 more Frogifies to fill out the playset. 2 Mystical Disputes. 2 Cerulean Drakes.
Ooh, I like that one.
And yeah, again, couldn't find the other 2. Now the 4th,
not very organized, are you?
No, I'm not. I literally threw this deck together at 3 o'clock today.
Nice.
So, the last is on a very odd card. 4 Turn into a Pumpkin.
Why turn into a pumpkin?
Because I was worried that I was going to have to play Garrison and his combo deck again. And so Cerulean Drakes are there so that he can't target me with the spell. This is there to bounce his Underworld Dreams and then hopefully counter it on the next time it comes down.
Well, if you bounce it in response, then you can just draw your cards.
Yep.
And
it does. It costs 4 mana. It draws you a card. This deck doesn't want to hold mana ever. You want to be spending your mana on every turn. If you're not pumping something, you want to be proliferating off a Karn's Bastion or pumping up your Blast Zone. This is kind of a last resort, and that's what it really is. If I have to bring it in, I'm bringing in probably multiples of these and changing the whole game plan to try to go a little more control-y.
So obviously the sideboard is very meta dependent.
Exactly.
Like so this is because of Garrison. And actually, Elias made a similar deck. I don't know if he played it tonight.
I believe he was playing Underworld Dreams.
Okay, he was playing more of my mono black deck, but he had 2 peers in there with the 4 Underworld Dreams.
Oh, okay.
So, again, how likely is it that anyone in your meta is playing that?
Not very.
So those probably don't need to be there. The Drakes are actually really good against the red decks too.
Yep.
So I don't mind that just in general.
Shut down an Expansion Explosion.
Yeah.
You're going to put them on the board, and if they can't remove them, that's going to save you from a game-winning spell that is just going to blow you out.
Yep. And obviously the disputes, the most common thing you're hitting with this is Teferi.
Yep.
And I don't think anybody here is playing Teferi.
No. I was just looking for more counter spells because these are great against planeswalkers and spells.
Yep.
I need something that was a hard counter against creatures. Bottom line is, with this many artifacts and this much colorless stuff, you're never going to have enough counter spells to be really control-y. So these are all here.
You want to play one threat and kind of protect it for a little while so that you can ramp it up and
Exactly. And the name of the game is to get counters, get them onto the Ozolith, and then move them to something else.
So you could put Essence Captures in.
That's a thought.
Because that would put a counter on your creature too.
Yeah.
And it's a hard counter for creature spells.
And, I considered that. I shied away from the double blue.
That makes sense.
And I have enough blue in the deck. I mean, I'm running 12 blue sources and 12 colorless sources, I believe.
16 blue sources. There's 4 lemons.
There are 4 lemons.
That's true.
Yep.
Because we're tutoring them up. So, yeah, I would consider.
Yep. But I do like the negates, and then the Spyglass can also go in against planeswalkers, or just problematic things that you can't deal with. They could go in against Embercleave or something, so they can't re-equip it. So yeah.
I do have a question.
What's your question, Garrison?
Sorry, because I probably can't be heard too well. What about Emery?
I looked at Emery. I just couldn't.
And I'm only thinking about come back to the Animating Fairy portion of things. So, like, Animating Fairy does some stuff, but Emery allows you to replay any threats when you move them, say, to, like, the counters to an Ozolith, to be able then you replay, say, your Coil Serpents, because, like, you just get to cast it again and make it even bigger the following turn. Your Crystalline Giants and so on and so forth.
That is an interesting thought. And, you know, I glossed right over her. It's not a card that you really think to play, which is silly because obviously this is an artifact deck. But I think
Garrison just calling him out on
yeah,
it.
I completely agree. And I think everybody and their sister probably has a play set of Emery's if you opened any Eldraine at all.
Yeah.
I just wondered because it's like. I think
So the reason she's not there is I forgot about him.
Yeah, pretty much.
The two decks together seem
Yeah.
like Emery might be an actual, like, it would give you the stability to go longer in a game.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not bad if you draw it late.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
No.
Well,
Very
I guess
cool.
that's the deck tech. So
Yep.
thanks for watching the video.